On the first point of the argument, ladies and gentlemen, the first speaker, the Prime Minister, was basically saying that local startups cannot compete with foreign startups due to the insufficient amount of capital needed to set lower prices. It is simply a condescending perspective towards Indonesian society in general, ladies and gentlemen. This globalization era where everything is interconnected has brought a lot of brand awareness to the general population. They know and they understand the difference between foreign startups and local startups, as well as how to measure or how much or how often or which one they purchase from either one of the businesses. If we want our country to be more developed, then we should stop treating the people like they're not knowledgeable, ladies and gentlemen. Moreover, it is highly unrealistic to entirely ban and remove foreign startups when the demand from local consumers are at an all-time high for their products. Traveloka, Sociola, Lazada, for example, all of them have gained major consumers, especially middle-class society, since they tend to offer their products at lower price points. But so does local startups, which tend to target middle to upper class society who values brand authenticity and the importance of local startups development. Each startup businesses each startup businesses have their own target market, and most of the startups we're talking about in this debate already have their target markets established. Banning and removing the foreign ones will do no good other than inciting potential uproar within society, because they are most likely unprepared to find replacements from, for instance, Lazada, where they are used to get their stuff from, or where they're used to shop from. Quoting from the Prime Minister, Indonesian government should prioritize and empower local startups. I'm sorry, but how is this going to be possible if we simultaneously stop the flow of revenue from foreign investments coming through the foreign startups? The statements of the Prime Minister basically implies that foreign startups is actively destroying local startups market, which is not true, because they have OJK to monitor each and every single one of those startups, and even have dealt with the issue regarding the legality of startups, for example like Traveloka or Tokopedia in the past. Therefore, the solution to the problem of local startups being oppressed by foreign startups, as the government proposed, is not to ban or remove them from the country, but rather improve the competence of OJK to make sure that the state and the people suffer as minimum loss as possible when it comes to revenue and incentives. The Prime Minister's argument also can't contradict itself, ladies and gentlemen. They stated that local startups are not yet ready to compete with foreign startups. Therefore, foreign startups need to be removed from the country. Well, if local startups cannot yet compete in terms of technology, development, and capital, then what will happen to Indonesia if we decide to let these underdeveloped startup companies to single-handedly carry the country's economy on their backs? We, as opposition, firmly believe that the government overestimates their ability to stand on their own feet as a developing country without the existence and the steady investments brought by foreign startups, ladies and gentlemen. This point brings us to my first argument. My first argument will talk about the consequences of isolation and economic vulnerability that our country will suffer. Without foreign startups, as I have stated before, it is not a secret that Indonesia has a high chance of facing economic collapse, as local startups are not yet able to carry the financial revenue needed by the government. We take an extreme example from North Korea. North Korea, for example, we know that the government absolutely rejects the idea of foreign startups from entering their country, while local startup businesses there are still underdeveloped and unable to sustain themselves, let alone contributing revenue to their country. The result is isolation from the rest of the world. And yes, they are indeed independent, but at what cost, ladies and gentlemen? Severe case of poverty and the people barely getting by. The technology is stuck like they are still in the 1950s, etc. Yes, there are still other underlying issues affecting the country's condition, but if they would just let foreign startups enter their country, imagine the difference that it would make to the economy and their citizens as a whole, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the second point of my argument is the benefit for our country. Foreign startups coming from first world countries with big fundings for technological research and development will, of course, want to expand their businesses to other countries, including Indonesia. right? And this is inevitable, even if we do not like it, even though it is not actively harming our economy per se. What can we do to make the best out of the situation, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, exactly. We use them to provide us with new technologies that we can later gradually develop on our own, and capital products, organizational technologies, management skills, and potential cooperation and business opportunities for local businesses. Business cooperation with foreign startups is the best and most profitable initial step to start accommodating and empowering our local startups. They can learn more they can they can learn more about the technologies and start strategies foreign startups are using while still keeping their target markets and authenticity as local startups. Now, the final point of my argument is from the people's point of view. It is common knowledge that establishing trust between the general people and the government is a crucial aspect of a country in any given context, ladies and gentlemen. When the government successfully accommodate, manage, and monitor foreign startups instead of doing something as impulsive as banning and removing foreign startups altogether, that honestly feels like a kid throwing a tantrum when something bothers them. The people will start to believe in their policies and even start to be inspired and are motivated by their methods to start their own thing, and it also provides a sense of security for them if they know that everything that takes place in our country, in Indonesia, including those foreign startups, as are well regulated by their government. um, Therefore, we firmly reject the government's proposal of banning and removing foreign startups from Indonesia, as it will severely hinder Indonesia's economy and development as a country itself. Thank you.